This makes absolutely no logical sense, yet here we are. The fundamentals for XRP are the strongest in its nearly 14-year history. Utility for XRP is through the roof compared to other coins. I mean, it's used by tons of businesses quite literally on a daily basis. And there are millions of holders using it as a store of value and as a way to increase their net worth over time. I know I sure as hell am doing that. And XRP has legal clarity for the first time in history, and the war on crypto is over. But still, we haven't seen face-melting price discovery, and obviously price is currently suppressed as the entire crypto market is down in recent months. And today, we'll touch on this, today obviously not so hot compared to yesterday. But, if retail speculators operated based on logic and data and reason rather than emotions, XRP price would be much higher than it is right now. But that's not how people behave. I know this, I accept this, and so we just have to be patient. And the market is down today specifically for multiple reasons, which I will get into, but even so, it seems obvious to me that XRP is primed to be valued much higher over the long term. I mean, it's such a no-brainer to me. XRP is a no-brainer to me. It's obvious. We do just have to be patient, though, like I said. Because XRP, look, XRP has never entered true price discovery unless the rest of the market is pumping, and we haven't had an alt season where XRP wasn't being attacked by the SEC since 2017, 9 years ago. It's been 9 years. So we haven't had even one single chance to watch how XRP will perform in an alt season now that it has legal clarity, now that the war on crypto is over. But that moment is certainly coming. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 5:02 p.m. Central Time. It's Friday, March 6th, 2026. XRP is down to $1.36. Bitcoin is down to $68,335. And why is that the case? Well, multiple factors. This certainly didn't help. And by the way, the stock market down too. I looked at the NASDAQ 100, I looked at the Russell 2000, I look at the S&P 500, all down. Gold was up. Oil, actually more on that in a second, but take a look at this headline from NBC News. The U.S. economy lost 92,000 jobs in February, stoking labor market worries. Now, folks, this is scaring investors who might otherwise be interested in purchasing more risk-on assets such as stocks and crypto. Piece reads as follows. The U.S. shed 92,000 jobs in February, and previous months of job growth were not as strong as previously reported, the Bureau of Labor Statistics announced Friday in a report that will raise alarms about the state of the economy. The unemployment rate ticked up slightly to 4.4%, little changed from January's report. Economists had expected the economy to add 50,000 jobs and the unemployment report to remain at 4.3%. Friday's report revised down January's previously stellar payrolls figure from 130,000 to 126,000. The agency also cut December's figure from 50,000 jobs, added to a contraction of 17,000. And so with those revisions, 2025 was the first year to record 5 months of labor market contraction since 2010, as the economy was recovering from the global financial crisis. So there are a lot of people speculating that the reason that we are seeing this, given that across the board it's not like companies on the whole in terms of profit are seeing dire results. That's not exactly what we're talking about here. And so there's all sorts of people pointing to artificial intelligence and that changing hiring practices, firing standards, you name it. Whatever you think that it is, regardless, this is the state of things. And it's just so fascinating because what we're seeing outside of the jobs numbers here, and this is why I think a lot of people are also speculating that AI is already having a greater impact than what we might want to admit, because this has actually been a trend. I don't have a chart in this video for you, but earlier today I was looking at a trend, like in terms of jobs numbers, it's kind of slowly trending down over the last couple of years, really. But setting that aside, we're seeing economic expansion. So what does that tell you? We're unquestionably we are at this point. I mean, you can look at the PMI, you can look at, like I've been showing you a bunch of flatbed truck, freight data, and all of that. It jives with all the data that says expansion's literally happening right now, which is great for risk on assets. And it's not just that. Obviously, there's the war, which, look, let's be real. Markets don't like uncertainty, and there's a bit of uncertainty as a result of what's happening with the United States and Israel's attack on Iran. And so here is President Donald J. Trump's social media post from this morning, and he wrote in part, "There will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender." And after he shared this post, which is on your screen, I'm not going to read the whole thing. After he shared this post, U.S. oil prices immediately surged to a 2-year high. Way, way, way up. I mean, I was looking at a barrel of crude. It was like $60 in recent days, and then it got as high as, I think, like $92. I think that's where it peaked to today, and then it fell like slightly from that as a close. Anyway, yeah, that's a substantial jump, and it is because of this, obviously. And then there's this from the Kerbasi letter, and this is just from this morning. Breaking: Kuwait has begun cutting production at its oil fields after running out of room to store its bottled up crude oil, per Wall Street Journal. Details include, number one, Kuwait is discussing limiting production to just what it needs to cover domestic consumption. Number two, a decision on those broader cutbacks is expected within days, sources say. Three, once production is shut, restarting production can take days or even weeks. 4, Kuwait's about 2.6 million barrels of oil production per day appear to be at risk. And they note oil storage in the Gulf continues, Gulf countries, oil storage in Gulf countries is nearing maximum capacity. And if it's not going to make it to other parts of the world, that's going to impact other parts of the world, unless you can find a stopgap, which is what the Trump administration is currently working on, but I'm not going to focus on that in this video. Then there was also this, and this is kind of telling. Breaking, this is this afternoon, 3:06 p.m. U.S. oil prices officially post their largest weekly gain on record in data going back to 1982, rising 34.5%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended the week negative 1,500 points lower. Its worst week in nearly a year. It's going to be an extremely busy week ahead. Okay, so it doesn't mean that things won't get better in the medium term, but when there's uncertainty, markets don't like that, and markets are responding here to a certain degree. Now, a lot of this was already priced in, like I've talked about, so we haven't seen catastrophic pullbacks in the market, crypto market, or the stock market as a result, but it is what it is. So let's talk about the crypto market. I got XRP specific stuff as well as Bitcoin, which is leading this thing, let's be real. So we do need to focus on that, even if you're like me and you care way more about XRP and your altcoins than Bitcoin, because let's be real, Bitcoin's the pet rock of crypto. It's like, it's not that exciting at this point. It still matters because it does lead the market, like it or not. So I focus on it on a daily basis for that reason. But here's a post from popular chart analyst Psychedelic. He said, the last time this happened, Bitcoin rallied 20%. The Bitcoin Relative Strength Tracker is leading the way again. When relative strength, which is the purple line on your screen, starts to strongly outpace the price, which is the orange line on your screen, it signals heavy capital is being allocated whilst the price consolidates. Price action is choppy right now, but smart money is allocating at these prices. RS is signaling a push to $80,000 plus already. Okay, so he thinks in the short term, much sooner than later, even if we dip first, which is possible, we'll talk about that. Even if that's the case, you could see Bitcoin above $80,000 sooner than later. And even if we do go lower before that happens, what he's noting here is just data. The smart money, and this is just one metric you can use to track this, the smart money unquestionably has been buying in this region. And the smart money doesn't know exactly where the bottom is, duh, or else they'd all just pile into that exact 1 minute frame where that's happening That's not how real life works, though. They know that this is a bottoming region, and there's no shortage of evidence of people purchasing crazy amounts of Bitcoin here and XRP. In fact, I've got something a little bit later in this video that highlights that. But yeah, absolutely. XRP in a bottoming region as well, even if we do go lower. And, you know, I say bottoming region, people, sometimes it can be a multi-month thing. And then people are like, what do you mean a region? It's been months. I'm like, yeah, a region can be months. It can be longer than that, actually. So, but it is a bottoming region. This is what bottoming regions look like. The best is certainly ahead. I do not question that. And I got to tell you honestly, and if I'm wrong, maybe I eat these words, I do not believe that it's probable that this military conflict with Iran is going to carry on for a ridiculously long amount of time. I think it's very clear that Trump wants this thing buttoned up, especially given that this is a midterm year. You know, United States citizens not going to be thrilled with an Iraq-like situation where that's just ongoing. That is very clear. All of the polling data supports that. I think this will be buttoned up sooner than you think. Could be wrong, but that's my suspicion. And I only comment on that because that matters for crypto markets. It just does. Here's a post this is a post from popular chart analyst Mustache. There's a Bitcoin price chart here, and he said, people are watching for Bitcoin to fall below $60,000, which will never happen, in my opinion. Okay, I got to pause there. Gutsy. That is gutsy to say that. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it's impossible for that to happen. Maybe he's correct. What if it does and we just wick slightly below that? Like, that's not off the table. I don't think that would be crazy if that happens. Either way, if that happens, it doesn't mean that higher time frame we're just screwed now. There's no indication from the chart analysts that I follow who have been right about so many things, including the bottom of the last cycle in January 2023 when Bitcoin got down to like 15,000 whatever dollars. The analysts I follow, by and large, they knew this. They knew that was the bottoming region. Many of them actually called it very close to the bottom. And they're not flipping here. Like, this isn't scaring them. Nothing's broken. And I want to reiterate that. That's a key takeaway here, even as price is moving. Well, it's fun to see it go up yesterday a little bit. Sure, we appreciate those days. But even when the next day you see, okay, the breakout attempt failed, and it did. The breakout attempt yesterday failed. That's fine. That happens. It's very common in crypto. Just want to reiterate, that doesn't mean that anything is broken. It just doesn't. Anyway, and then he says, most people will only understand this when prices are much higher. Bitcoin is sitting right on the 2021 all-time high in a descending channel, bullish from here. So he's very optimistic the best is ahead. Here's a post from Credible Crypto. He says, this is Bitcoin. He says, rejection and re-entry into the range for now. This is why it makes sense to be a little cautious at range highs when you have a lack of impulsive price action that got us there. Yeah, so he did not characterize what we saw yesterday as impulsive price action. Tons of analysts were saying, hey, $74,000 is a key level. We got right up to it and we rejected. So that was before that even happened, that was a point that I saw so many analysts talk about. So the fact that we rejected from there, it's like, normal chart stuff. Nothing crazy here. Somebody asked him, though, so if we pierce $60,000, let the bear celebrate and then send it, ? And Credible Crypto said, ideally, something like this. So Credible Crypto acknowledges it is possible that you could, even if just briefly, drop below $60,000, which means that we'd have a new local low for this pullback, which is certainly possible. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not into the game of predicting that stuff. I never know. To me, it's more fun to try and figure out the macro stuff. The short-term stuff, that's more what traders and chart guys do. That's just not my jam. I'm just not interested. But yeah, it's possible, he acknowledges here, that you could see that. But again, let me reiterate, that wouldn't break anything on the higher time frame. Do not be scared. Here's a post from chart analyst Superbro, Bitcoin here. Says, there is a lot of confluence here with the 10 and 20 moving average. Broken pennant retest and center of the channel, no sweat as long as it grinds out a higher low. Expect another push toward range highs if it holds. So business as usual here, normal chart stuff unfolding. This is what I keep seeing from analysts. Here's a post from popular analyst Dan Crypto Trades, 417,000 followers. He said, Bitcoin can't really say I'm surprised with how this turned out, as this has been happening for months. It's why it is good to watch closely after a potential breakout and adjust your invalidation zone, the breakout level, quickly. Bitcoin is back in the range, and that is me back in hibernation mode. The main focus remains on long-term accumulation at the lowest possible prices over time. Yeah, so no terrifying message here. It's just, okay, yeah, we're in a range, whatever. And this is what I keep seeing. There's no panic from the analysts I'm following, I'll tell you that. Here's a post from the great Matsby, who accurately called XRP breaking out this market cycle. And he says, Bitcoin has just been trying to break resistance the whole week. $67,556 is the minimum goal for a Sunday weekly candle close. Nothing has failed yet. So, folks, simmer down now. Simmer down. Everything's going to be all right. Nothing is broken yet. Nothing is broken yet. I will keep insisting that is the case because that's all I'm seeing. Here's a post from Mikey Bull Crypto. He's talking about Bitcoin also. He says, you can't time the bottom, but it's either in or closer than ever. And that's a post this is all from today. Like every post that I'm sharing from these guys talking about Bitcoin, every single one of these is from today. None of them are freaking out. And I could have shared with you like 4 times the number of posts that I am. I just had to pick some. This is what I keep seeing. Nobody is freaking out. Everything is fine, even if we go lower. And the reason I want to emphasize that is because when it comes to investing, we are our own worst enemies. And so if you know that something is reasonably possible that's bad, then if it happens, you don't have to freak out and make important financial decisions based on emotions rather than logic and data and reason. So you do whatever you think is best for you. I don't know what's best for you. All I'm saying is use logic and data and reason, but making important financial decisions in a panic mode is not advisable. Just be smart out there. Here's a post from chart analyst Michael Vandepop. He says, clearly not what you'd want to see, but again, it's Friday. Friday is the classic sell-off day lately, as markets are puking quite generally. On Friday afternoon, the NASDAQ is giving it back too. If Bitcoin doesn't find support in the $67,000 to $68,000 region, then we're likely going to retest the lows for liquidity before bouncing back upward. So an acknowledgement, you actually could drop a bit lower, get back to the lows that we saw even a month ago, which scared the hell out of everybody. Again, if so, not the end of the world, normal stuff in crypto. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. XRP is in such a good accumulation range here, in my opinion. Looking at Bitcoin dominance adds confluence. Yeah, and so obviously Bitcoin dominance, every analyst that I follow is basically saying, it looks like it's a little top heavy. This son of a bitch is probably going to run to the downside. And that's great because when that happens, that is when altcoin dominance picks up, of course. And XRP would be a part of this. And XRP very obviously is in an accumulation range. It could not be more obvious. And this is where the whales are snatching up ridiculous quantities of XRP, in fact. And then he said, then fundamentally crack and get their Fed master account. How long till Ripple does? Clarity Act might grandfather in XRP, as Hoskinson said too. All right, so on the master account stuff, I'm actually going to dedicate an entirely separate video to that, probably sooner rather than later. Maybe today or tomorrow. I started mapping some stuff out I want to put together because there's some news that broken, but I want to add some of my own personal perspective on that because I think the key message behind that is actually being lost when you read crypto media articles. That's almost always the case, though. There's not that insightful. And then there's this post from chart analyst Greg Crypto, XRP here. It says, RSI, Relative Strength Index, monthly time frame signal. If this is your favorite coin, this is the zone where smart money accumulates. You know what? It is my favorite coin, although I'm fully stocked up. Yeah, XRP has been tremendously oversold. Whales have been responding to this. There's just no question about that. XRP is oversold. It's historically oversold. You only see this every so often. I mean, it's been years since it's been this oversold. There's no surprise that whales are buying here. Then there's this from ChartNerd. XRP lower time frame breakdown confirmed. Lower $1.30 area to be tested, still range bound, no major fuss. So he's not concerned even if this thing does go a bit lower. Nothing is broken. Everything is going to be all right, folks. The best is yet ahead. XRP is very clearly here to stay. The market will go when it goes. We are just observers. We are just along for the ride. So buckle up. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea.